crossing the Solent off the south coast of England to start a journey across an island the Romans knew as Vectis, but of course we know it as the Isle of Wight. I'm starting my journey on the Isle of Wight hovercraft, heading towards Ryde. From there, I'll travel to East Cowes and take the floating bridge to Cowes. My next stop will be Allen Bay, with its spectacular cliffs and equally spectacular chairlift. I'll finish my journey paragliding high over the cliffs at Compton. And along the way, I'll be looking back at the best of the BBC's rural programmes for this part of the world. Welcome to Country Tracks. Sir Christopher Cockerell's inspirational hovercraft design was endorsed by the Ministry of Aviation in 1956. 3 years later, the first full-sized hovercraft was unveiled on the Isle of Wight by Saunders Roe, a company already famous for developing flying boats at their site in Cowes. The hovercraft has been running between Southsea and Ryde since 1965 and is still going strong today. The service prides itself in being the world's longest-running commercial hovercraft service. Barry Geehan first took the controls of this service in 1969. And what's it like being in control of a hovercraft?
Well, it's like anything. It's like driving a car for the first time. You do get used to it. OK, this is a much bigger vehicle than most people operate. It's a bit like driving a car on black ice.
Ooh.
Because there's no contact with the surface you're travelling over.
That sounds a little bit tricky. Is there a lot of training involved then?
There is a lot of training, yes. I've been doing this for just over 40 years now. And the hovercraft have come a long, long way since the first hovercraft that I flew.
Right. So you mentioned flying there. So you're not actually a sailor or a captain of a boat. You're actually a pilot, aren't you?
Well, actually, we are officially known as captains.
Oh, right, OK.
We hold marine tickets, the same as a ship, master of a ship, a ferry or a tanker, super tanker or whatever. But in the early days, the hovercraft were built by aircraft manufacturers.
Ah.
And so the control cabin was known as the cockpit, and the chap who drove the vehicle was known as the pilot. You steer with your feet. You operate it very much like an aircraft. You fly it like an aircraft. We are actually 4.5, 5 feet above the water.
We're flying.
We're flying.
And hovercrafts were first designed in the 1950s, but are they still popular around the world, or is it just small pockets of the planet like the Isle of Wight?
Very much so. They are popular around the world in different areas, not just for passenger carrying, but also for search and rescue, flood relief, disaster relief. So, yes, they are used in many parts of the world now. What
keeps you doing this job?
I love it.
Really?
Absolutely love it.
It is a really cool way to travel, there's no doubt about that. So go on, dish the dirt. Have you had any celebrities on board ever?
Oh, yes, we've had a few.
Have you? Who?
Jimi Hendrix.
No way.
Yes, for the 1970 pop festival on the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
Joe Cocker. We get quite a few of the modern day celebrities as well. Although Cliff Richards
Cliffy's been on
comes
board.
over quite a bit, yes.
And of course now you've got Country Tracks, your job, your list is complete.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Glad to hear it, Barry.
There's no two ways about it. Speeding across the Solent towards the Isle of Wight on a hovercraft is really good fun. When Ben Fogle visited the Isle of Wight, he went out into the Solent by boat, and he got out halfway across.
Now, I've been told that somewhere around here there's going to be a cricket match, but I can't quite work out where.
The sea's calm and all's quiet here at Cowes on the Isle of Wight. The scene is one of sumptuous yachts and sun lovers basking in the serenity of this bay. Serenity, was that? They probably haven't heard of the Brambles cricket match.
So what exactly is the Brambles cricket match?
It's an annual event, we hope, depending on the ties, between the Royal Southern Yacht Club over on the mainland and the Island Sailing Club here on the island.
So what makes it unique?
It's played in the middle of the sea, for a start. And we have to wait for the tide to go low enough to allow us to play. But I've got a chart here with me that might point it out a little better.
So whereabouts are we?
We're down here in Cowes,
right,
at the Island Sailing Club.
OK.
And the Brambles Bank is this green area in the middle of the chart.
So it really is slap bang in the middle of this body of water.
Neutral territory, if you like. Yes.
So how is it that we're going to be able to have a game of cricket in the middle of the ocean?
This area here is above the water when the tide is very low.
Always?
No, only on certain days of the year, when we've had a full moon a couple of days earlier, on what are called spring tides, when the range of the tide is larger than normal.
And what are your chances of winning? Presumably you're with the island team.
Absolutely guaranteed.
Are they?
Oh, yes. Yes. It's one of the long-standing traditions of this game is that the winning club provides the supper for everybody.
OK.
But so that the chefs in the restaurant know what's happening, we have to decide who's going to win before we even start playing.
There are signs that something's afoot. Amidst the usual holiday hordes, there are clearly some who know the true significance of a full moon. It's time to leave the safety of dry land and head out into the madness.
What an amazing evening. Very English, I say. So, Commodore, this is certainly an unusual means of transport to a cricket match.
It is indeed, yeah. When you watch this cricket match, you'll see something between a cricket match, a rugby match and a water polo match.
Yes,
so there are no rules to it.
Any advice for when we're out there? When I'm fielding, for example, or batting?
Be very careful, we use a hard ball.
What do you think, Inks? Are you going in for bat or fielding? Fielding, I think. So basically, all these boats are just waiting for the cricket pitch to appear. And I mean, I really, you're not pulling my leg. I mean, that's it. It's almost too much to believe.
Yes, you'll see it there in a moment. Right.
Well, apparently we have about an hour to wait until the cricket pitch appears. And that water that's sort of got white bits on the top of it is where it's going to appear from.
Just waiting for Dickie Bird to turn up, actually, give us his opinion.
So it's still a little bit wet, is it?
Just a little bit. We could be in wellies, actually.
At last, a mirage seems to rise from the sea. For the rest of us, it's a race to join them. There's no time to lose. We only have 45 minutes before the waters return and the whole area disappears once again under the waves.
Whoa, it really is. That's a big claw as well. What are you going to do with it?
Put it back.
Put it back in the water. There aren't very many... Ah! Don't bite me. There aren't many cricket games where you're going to find one of those to clear before you can start play.
First, second, third, and then scatter around, and we can keep up.
Look at the size of the wicket.
We're batting.
Can't wait to see the size of the ball.
Watch the guys over there, because they cheat like this.
There's more media than there are.
You up,
Enough of this foolishness. Let play commence. I'm batting for the Islanders. It's always good to know at the start that I'm on the winning side. Because the ground area is so small, the crowd are almost standing on the pitch. I don't think anyone's keeping score. Not that anyone seems to care. If this is all looking a bit chaotic and haphazard, and you're not sure what's going on, neither do I, quite frankly. I don't know if my team is batting first, if we're supposed to be fielding, although Inca wants to. Are we supposed to be batting or fielding? I can't actually even see the scoreboard from here. And now, the inevitable. My turn. The sun's sinking. The air is still. And then... a miracle! I score a 6! Substituted because basically you want to run through this so quickly. You've got to let everyone have a go, so I've decided to bow out after my 6. In case you'd forgotten, the island side have already won. Still, better let the opposition have a bat, I suppose. So we're fielding now.
Oh, we're fielding.
Where do you want me to go?
Right, OK, what we want you is sort of kind of silly mid-off.
OK.
All right, over there somewhere.
I'll do my best. The sun's beginning to set and the waters are rising fast. We don't have much time left, though I'm doing my best for my team. But will it be enough? Obviously, everyone's taking this very seriously. Well, some people. Of course, the other side are losing, but at least they're losing with style. And that really is it. Triumph for the Islanders and the end of a wonderful evening.
I had to put Inca on the lead because she was trying to get the ball. I thought it would be cheating. Little did I know how much cheating was really going to be going on. So look at this. This is the cricket pitch. And we want to go home, Inca. Inca, Inca, Inca. Who got a 6? Who got a 6? Who got a 6?
I've left the south coast of England behind and crossed the Solent to reach Ryde on the Isle of Wight. After a high-powered arrival by hovercraft, a sense of calm has descended on me now I've set foot on the island.
There's a real feeling of nostalgia here, and it's not just because of the architecture or the laid-back feel. It's something a little bit more intangible than that. Some people would say it's because the Isle of Wight harks back to an England of the 1950s. Well, I've got an Isle of Wight 1950s guidebook with me, and I'm going to see if that's true.
There is definitely a timeless quality to this place, and it's that feeling of nostalgia that I want to explore.
According to my guidebook, the canoe lake over there has rowing boats, paddle box boats, which must be pedalos, and a small section reserved for sailing model boats. And it says here, on Sunday mornings, the whole lake is reserved for the members of the local model yacht club and is not available for boating until 2 p.m. And you know what? The club still meets here today.
You can't come to the Isle of Wight and not go sailing. My skipper today is Peter Danby, a member of the Ryde Model Boat Club.
So how long has this club been up and running, Peter?
Well, it's been in existence for 125 years.
That's a fair old time, and
Yeah.
it's still going strong, clearly.
That's right.
And what's the attraction for you, Peter? I mean, immediately I can get a real sense of calm just being here.
Mm-hmm.
But why do you keep coming back to this club?
Well, the calm is a wonderful part of it, but really the action is the main thing. We race every single Sunday of the year except Christmas, if that happens to fall on a Sunday. And so we're here summer and winter.
All right, so it could be all about relaxation, but predominantly it's all about competition, good, healthy competition.
Right, that's right. We have several series of races, and we're all very keen to win.
So are there different classes of boats and all that?
No, all these boats are Marbleheads. Okay. They have evolved over the years. They used to be all made of wood, mainly homemade, cotton sails, but now the hulls are carbon fibre, the mast is carbon fibre, and they're very high-tech.
High-tech, state-of-the-art business going on in this lake.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, it looks a little bit complicated because clearly you're not just steering left and right, you have to use the wind, you have to tack and all that business,
yes, you do.
Don't you?
Yep.
Do you reckon I could have a go, though, without crashing somebody's boat?
Yes, you can try mine.
Can I?
Don't worry. Yes.
OK, let's have a go.
OK.
Where's your boat?
There it is.
Good stuff.
Under the expert tuition of Peter, I take to the water, trying to remember that my right hand steers the rudder left and right, and my left hand moves the sails in and out to catch the breeze.
Sails in.
Sails in and turn to the right.
As my practice session draws to an end, I'm really getting into this. My competitive streak is starting to emerge and I'm ready to race.
So much fun.
10, 9.
Do I turn here then after?
7.
In a moment.
6.
No.
Sorry.
5,
Turn now.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I can't believe it.
Don't
Where do I
worry.
go? Where do I go?
That's all right. Sails in. Come on.
Sails in.
Yeah. And head up.
I'm last. To the right.
Good place to be, actually. There's no trouble there.
That's true. Look at me all last. Look at this poor little number 40 on the lake by itself.
Okay, we're catching up.
Ooh, yay, yay!
That's it.
Sails fully in.
Yes.
This is so much fun. Turn.
Yes,
Turn.
It's half out now.
Half out,
Down to the
sails.
next boy.
Down to the next boy. Am I seriously in the lead now? I can't believe that. That's ridiculous. Oh, you're gaining on me, lads.
That's fine.
I'm rounding the final corner and the finish line is in sight, but I can't shake off the feeling that the lads have been very kind to me today.
Yes! No way! Awesome. Good race, good race. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.
Like many coastal places, the Isle of Wight was made fashionable by the Victorians. The difference here, though, was that it was Queen Victoria herself who led the way, choosing it as the location for a holiday home.
When Victoria married Albert in 1840, they started to look for a holiday home of their own, and the fact that Osborne was close to the sea was a large part of its appeal. But even the head of the British Empire wasn't immune from the perils of the property market.
It wasn't exactly an easy process. The Queen was familiar with the island. She'd come on visits with her mother as a teenager. And so when they were looking for a house, they came over to the island, looked at Norris Castle, which was the neighbouring estate here. But when the owner realised that the royal family were interested in the property, the price sort of went up a little bit. So Sir Robert Peel, the Queen's then Prime Minister, got to know that Osborne House was on the market. And so the Prince came on his own initially, had a look at the property, thought it was very suitable. And they fell in love with the place and decided to buy the estate.
Was the house like this when they bought it?
It wasn't. It was completely different. When they came here first, there was a stone-built 18th century house, which was really quite small. And the royal family lived there for a couple of seasons, and they decided that they would rebuild. So that's the house that survives now.
And I suppose it wasn't really too far from London.
It wasn't. The Queen and the royal family could come down here from London in about 3 hours using their own private train and private yacht.
And at the bottom of the large garden is what made this place so special for Victoria and her young children.
Well, this is a lovely secluded spot, isn't it?
It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? The royals loved this spot. When they bought Osborne House, it was one of the things that they were looking for, that they could enjoy the outdoors, the countryside, and have their own space where they could not have the paparazzi of the time coming in and viewing in on them.
So, in Victorian times, only the royal family came onto this beach?
Very much so.
And did they actually go in the sea?
Yes, they did. The royal children were encouraged to learn to swim. Prince Albert, like he did, he was an inventive sort of person, and he had a floating swimming pool set up for the children so that, according to their ability, you could raise or lower the floor.
Typical of Albert there, isn't it?
He did lots of things like that.
When Queen Victoria moved to Osborne House in 1845, it meant that the royal family could play an important role in the development of the regatta. But there'd already been a royal presence almost since it started.
William IV made the Royal Yacht Club, as it was known, the Royal Yacht Squadron, because of its use to the Royal Navy.
And did the Royals actually compete in the races?
They did. The Prince of Wales, that's who became Edward VII, he was really keen. He in fact sort of set the place alight in a way, and his rivalry with the Emperor of Germany, that's William the Kaiser, and you know, it led to a series of incidents which meant that the Prince decided not to come to Cowes after 1897 because he just couldn't bear his nephew anymore.
After Victoria's death, the house was given to the nation by Edward VII on the condition that a Royal Naval College was set up here. Among the young cadets were two future kings, Edward VIII and George VI.
They both came here as very young boys. I mean, you know,
how old?
They were about sort of 11 or 12 when they came to Osborne. You know, they were tiny, tiny little boys. And of course, they were subjected to quite a harsh Spartan regime here. You know, they had to run from classroom to classroom at the double. And at the ends of each dormitory, there was a huge, cold plunge pool, which they had to sort of jump into first thing in the morning. So it sounds absolute hell.
So far, my journey has taken me across the Solent by hovercraft to ride on the Isle of Wight, where I sailed to victory on Canoe Lake. Now I've moved on to the outskirts of East Cowes.
Well, there's still lots of fun to be had with traditional pastimes here on the Isle of Wight, but now I'm off to try another one that's got me a wee bit apprehensive.
In many ways, the Isle of Wight harks back to simpler times, and surely there is no pastime more innocent than climbing trees. It's been a favourite pastime for children since time immemorial. Paul McCarthy is an expert tree climber who helps people get in touch with their inner child by ascending into the canopy. But these days, climbing trees is a little more technical.
How are you?
Very good. Welcome
it's
to tree
really
climbing.
nice to meet you. Thank you very much. So this is all the kit, and I take it this is the tree, huh?
This is the very one, yeah, yeah.
Ooh, it's a bit daunting, actually. How high is it?
This is a 60-foot oak tree.
OK,
yeah.
That'll do nicely, I'm sure.
Have you got a head for heights?
I do have a touch of the vertigo, I have to admit, on certain things, but I'm totally game for giving it a go. Is there a particular technique to getting this right?
Sure, yeah. There's a technique that I'm going to show you. It involves using your legs more than your arms.
Oh, OK. Is it difficult, Paul?
No. You'll learn it in 10 minutes, I assure you.
Right, before I bottle out, kit me out really quickly.
OK, yeah, great. Let's get some gear on. Onto this side. And then, through here.
Paul is a qualified arborist. The ropes he uses are specially designed for the job, which means they don't damage the bark.
We're going to get you on this rope here, straight up to the hammock.
OK, it's very high up.
Here we go, I'm going to clip you in.
Yeah.
Here we go. How does that feel? Is it comfortable?
Yeah, it's really comfy.
Great. OK, so now your right hand goes below your blue knot, left hand up here, stand up, and as you stand, push your blue knot up with your bottom hand. And then you're going to move your foot loop up to just below your chin.
Might get a bit of a wobbly, but
yeah.
So far, so good. So what kind of people come up here to climb this oak tree?
We get all sorts, yeah, from 8 to 80, really. We've had families, groups, individuals, all sorts of people, yeah.
What's the oldest you've had climb a tree?
This year we had a gentleman that was 78 climbing.
No way!
Yeah, it was great. We had a wonderful climb with him.
Does anybody ever bottle out at this stage? Oh, Lord, I just looked down.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do sometimes, yeah.
If you don't look down, it's OK.
Keep looking up, yeah. That's a good tip. Keep looking up. Another half a dozen steps and you'll be sitting on that branch.
Right, then.
With my vertigo starting to kick in, the refuge of a hammock looks very tempting.
Is it?
That's it.
How did you end up climbing trees in the Isle of Wight, Paul?
Well, My wife grew up here on the Isle of Wight.
Right.
Yeah, so love brought me to the Isle of Wight.
Oh, love and trees.
Yeah.
I'm liking it. How long have you been climbing trees?
10 years now.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
In what capacity?
Well, I started out, I went to college in New Zealand and became an arborist.
What's an arborist then?
Arborist, all things to do with trees. So from planting through to care and maintenance and then eventually taking them down when they grow old and die. So, yeah, yeah.
So you've loved trees for years and you wanted to share that with people?
Yeah, I really believe that trees are the unsung heroes.
Oh,
yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Isle of Wight is a great place for this kind of thing?
It's such a nice spot. I mean, so much of it is an area of outstanding natural beauty. It's a wonderful place, and as you can see, up a tree, it is just the best.
It is pretty amazing. The thing is, though, now that I've kind of got my nerve back a little bit, we're just above this leaf line. But I bet you if we got a bit higher, we could really see out across the landscape, couldn't we?
That's where it's at.
Right then.
You keen to go?
I think I'm keen to go a little bit higher.
Excellent. Well, let's do it.
Oh, okay, let's do it.
Great. Excellent. Hey, look at that. You're back on the road.
Okay.
You can take one more step around. So can you see across the Solent?
I can see across the Solent. Oh, gosh, Paul, this is absolutely spectacular.
It's just a wonderful day for it, eh?
Oh, really? I know, yeah, we're blessed with the weather as well, we have to say, but, I mean, that's gorgeous. When Michaela Strachan came to the Isle of Wight, she wasn't looking for views, she was looking for goats.
High on a hill was a lonely goat herd, liddy. Come on, admit it, you thought it too. What do goat herders do other than just yodel? Well, we're here to find out.
The National Trust Warden on the Isle of Wight reports for the annual Goat Roundup. All year, the Trust's herd of goats are allowed to live wild on these hills, but not today.
So, Robin, what do I have to do to be a goat herder?
Basically, stay on your own 2 feet if possible. We're actually going to be walking on quite steep slopes. And do as I tell you.
Now, most people think of goat herders as lonely, the lonely goat herd on your own, but there's quite a few of us doing this, isn't there?
Yes, that's right. We're working on a piece of down that's about 100 acres, and at the moment there's nearly 40 goats there. And we're going to form a long line of people at the far end of the down and gradually walk them up.
So, do you have to yodel to be a goat herder?
I'd rather if you didn't.
Oh, first we gather in the mist for the off, and it's all smiles despite the weather. Some of the group are on a National Trust working holiday, with this as the highlight of the week.
I enjoy being outside, and you meet some fantastic people, and you get to see parts of the countryside that you wouldn't see normally.
I've flown over National Trust area on hang gliders for the last 30 years, so I thought I'd see what it's like from the ground for a change.
I'm here basically because it's a complete break from my job. It's something completely different. It's nice to be outside and just have a change. I didn't really expect a change to be running around after goats, but I'm sure it'll be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much to all those who have volunteered to turn up and help us today with the Goat Roundup. And also thank you to those of you who aren't volunteers. We don't conscript people, I just mean people who work for the National Trust.
Be lucky to see the goats.
The goats are here to control the spread of non-native tree species holm oak, which is threatening to engulf these precious chalk grasslands. Each year they're herded up to be checked and counted. The roundup starts by forming a line at the other end of the down.
OK, folks, slowly forward.
The plan is to walk steadily, driving the goats back to the top corner of the hillside by the force of numbers. The people high up have thick gorse to contend with. Those down below face a steep run uphill at the end. I'm no fool, I'm in the middle.
You realise, Robin, that's really mean, actually, because it's the older ones that are taking their time to get to the top, and they're the ones that end up at the bottom that have to run.
Yes, that's right. Well, life's a bit like that, isn't it?
It's hard going in the rain, and there's no reports of any bleating animals as yet. We're getting the hang of scrambling, but communication isn't so easy.
Tony, can you hear me? Over.
Robin, he's just having a pee.
Actually, that's a very good point.
No time for all that. These goats are proving hard to find. They've left their positive mark everywhere, though.
See this holm oak here that's sprouting from the old stump? If the goats weren't here, this will grow into a full-grown tree in probably about 20 years. And all these little sprouts coming up here will completely overshadow the chalk grass and plants which are flourishing. And The goats actually like this stuff. It's really tough and spiky, but it's one of their favourite foods, particularly during the winter.
Still nothing. Time to leave the troops clinging to the hillside and join the guys waiting at the other end to hopefully see a billy goat.
Thanks, that was a lot easier than walking up the hill, I can tell you. Nice straight path.
Well, the fog lifted about 5 minutes ago and you could actually see right down onto the sea.
And then what happened? It came back again?
Just starting to roll back in again, I'm afraid.
So what's our job at the top here?
Depending on which side the goats come up, left or right,
Yeah.
we then alter the gates so that they can't bolt either down there or down there.
Yeah.
And that's it, simply. And then they're just driven into the compound. It sounds very simple, but the last few minutes are the crucial bit of the whole operation, because once you get to here, if they turned and went back, obviously we'd have to do it all again. When we swing that gate to, that's a big sigh of relief.
Well, the good news is they found some goats. It's not going to be a disaster, we hope. And they're coming which way? This way?
Well, we don't know. At the moment, we think from along the top here, which means we'll have to alter the gates.
OK.
Which side?
This side. OK. Well, they're coming.
They're right on the fence.
And they're coming in a big group. They're right near the fence. Oh, they're trying to run away.
They're getting frisky.
Now, the reason we're all hiding behind the fence is to not scare them. But it looks like it's going pretty well.
We will when we go by us, I'll be happy.
Go on, keep going, keep going.
Come on. Come on. Keep moving, everybody. Come on.
Oh, they've got him in, they've got him in. Well done, everybody. Way! Success. Robin, that went very smoothly, didn't it?
Oh, I don't know about that.
It looked like it
Have we
did
got
from
everything? We
here.
seem to have lost people. I don't know about goats, but...
The stragglers return, weary and rather damp.
I was struggling up a big, steep slope just at the moment when I heard that someone had seen the goats. And I was just, as soon as I heard that, I just started sliding back down again.
I didn't really spot a goat until they were all herded up. We were right down at the bottom of the hill there.
So I fell over quite a few times because it was quite slippery, but apart from that, it was good.
So, Tony, what happens now?
Now we've got them all together, we're going to sort out the ones that we want to put back and the ones that are going elsewhere. We do that by checking their health, but the older ones, like the billy goats, some of them have bad teeth, so we don't want to put those back on.
So how many will go back?
About 25.
And that's all you want, otherwise it gets too much?
Otherwise we get too much erosion, so we've got to manage their numbers quite closely.
The selection process begins, divided into those who are staying and those who are going. I'm not sure they appreciate all the attention, though.
So what are you going to do with that one?
He needs a new ear tag because he's lost it.
OK.
And legally we have to make sure they're all tagged and recorded. 32, Simon?
Born 1999.
Well, not one to be a wallflower, I decide to join in.
What's your face? So she's fine. She can go?
I'll take this one. Oh, God, the one that's gone.
That one.
Yeah.
Right, and then we'll leave one.
God, they're strong, aren't they? What are those big ones like?
Even stronger. She's fine in the udder department.
Yeah, teeth are fine.
Excellent.
So she's staying, is she?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, goat manicure, OK.
You can take most of the white off, probably.
Would you like? Oh, really?
Yep.
I bet this is the longest manicure a goat's ever had. Now, would you like some pink nail varnish or purple? How about you lot doing a yodel? Can you yodel?
No.
OK, I'll do it first, you follow. High on a hill was a lonely goat herd, lady, lady, lady.
Oh, yes.
So all of you who thought that being a goat herder was just yodeling, well, now you know different.
And for those goats not destined for retirement, they head back to freedom.
My Isle of Wight journey has taken me across the Solent to Ryde and then on to East Cowes, where I went tree climbing. With help from my guide Paul, I managed to get down safely, so now my travels can continue.
The best way to get from East Cowes to Cowes is across the Medina River on the floating bridge, which is actually a ferry on chains. Otherwise, you'd have to go right down to Newport and up the other side, which takes about 40 minutes. This only takes 2.
This method of crossing the river has been in use for 150 years. The harbour at Cowes is internationally renowned for sailing. Less well known is its history of building aircraft.
You see that enormous building over there? That is the Columbine Shed.
It was built in 1935 by Saunders Roe for the construction of seaplanes, most notably the largest ever metal seaplane, the Princess, which took to the skies in 1952.
The Union Jack, said to be the largest in the world, was painted in 1977 to celebrate the Queen's Silver Jubilee.
Next, the coloured cliffs of Allen Bay. Created by prehistoric geological layering, the cliffs here on the west of the island are a stunning landmark.
Right, let's see what my trusty guidebook says. The famous coloured cliffs are seen at their best after heavy rain, the contrasted colours of the freshly exposed surface being then specially vivid. It's a little bit sunny today. The cliffs are best seen from the deck of a steamer. Right, well, I don't have a steamer, but I do have the next best thing.
The Needles Park chairlift gives a great vantage point to view the striking rock formations here.
Oh, very cool. I can see some red and some yellow, and some sandy colour. You can really see the differences in the colours on the cliffs. It's absolutely gorgeous.
The cliff's unusual colouring has given rise to many myths. My favourite is that the Coast Guard spray paint them during the closed winter season. I'm meeting Mike Cullender from the Needles Park Sand Shop to separate fact from fiction.
I was told these cliffs were formed from a layering, but I see that the colours are in vertical columns.
Right.
They're not horizontal. Why is that?
No, that's the part of it that makes it unique. It's over a period of millions of years, like when the tectonic plates joined, it like pushed up all the cliffs are at Allen Bay right the way through the island, which has given us all of our coloured sands in a vertical position now, whereas if they used to be horizontal.
So they were horizontal, a geological event happened, and they were all pushed up to be vertical.
That's absolutely right. The main, or should I say, the north end of our beach dates around 35 million years in time ago.
Up here?
That's right, down that far end there. And then behind us, the White Chalk Cliff ends, that's 65 million years. So as you walk along the 10 minutes, quarter of an hour stretch of beach, we cover millions of years in time.
Allen Bay became a popular destination during Victorian times when ornaments would be made by filling glass jars with layers of the different coloured sand found here, something visitors can still do today.
I did actually bring this to show you, Liz, with me. This is one of our shapes that we fill here on site. And this gives you an example of the Isle of Wight map.
OK, so here we are at Allen Bay here.
That's right, that's the area where we've got the 21 different shades of colours, but as soon as you leave Allen Bay and you work your way through into the middle of the island, which is Newport End, it only goes into about 4 colours. And then keep going through the island, come out sort of Whitecliff Bay and Bembridge End, and you come back to about 6 to 8 colours again. So you can see it works its way right the way through, really.
It's just so pretty, all the coloured sands.
Yeah.
But if this kind of collection was popular for so many years, surely that has to be bad for the conservation of these cliffs. All the tourists are hacking away at the sand.
I do agree with what you're saying, except we've tried every which way we can to slow the erosion down. We've put drainage at the top part of the cliff, which slows the erosion from the top part.
OK.
On the beach itself, visitors are not allowed to collect their own sands anymore now, due to safety reasons, really. And our specialised team come and collect the sands at certain times of the year, and we collect the loose sand that's fallen down during the summer months before the winter storms come in and wash it all away. So what we're using in the shops now for visitors to fill their own jars is all sand that would normally be washed out to sea in the winter.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
It's preserving the cliffs.
It means we can enjoy these cliffs for a long time to come.
Yeah, hopefully millions of years, although sadly I don't think we'll be here to see that, but yes, yeah.
That's good news.
OK.
Where else but the Isle of Wight could you get a geology lesson inside a fun souvenir? If fun and excitement were what you were looking for back in 1968, then the Isle was definitely the place to be.
Now, they say if you can remember the 60s, you weren't there. But luckily, there are still plenty of people on the island who can recall those festivals.
still brings tears to my eyes when I think of the kids, you know, when I looked out at that field.
The whole place looked a bit like a war zone, really. It really did.
It was wonderful. It was like a vision of Eden, really.
And they allocated £750 for a pop festival.
And so you decided you'd get Jefferson Airplane, big American act.
Yeah.
How much did they cost you?
About £1,000, if I remember rightly.
And you had 750?
Yeah.
That was an interesting decision.
Well, of course. We were able to pay them back. So many people, young people, and enjoying themselves. It was fantastic. 2 o'clock in the morning, lots of like little stars all over this 100-acre stubble field. And if you've ever sat on stubble,
it's not comfy.
It's anything but, you know. But they collected lots of bits of straw and lit it, you know, and it was like stars in the night, you know. And yeah, to say it always affects me.
Even all these years later?
Yeah.
By 1969, the festival was making world headlines, signing the reclusive Bob Dylan and presenting a 5-day and night lineup.
So here we are, Brian, walking through a field full of cows. About, what, 35 years too late?
Exactly. Well, 35 years and 2 months too late. To the day, I think, actually, yeah, just about.
So had we been here at the right time, what else would have been here?
Well, nothing much. About 500,000 people. A big stage with Jimi Hendrix and the Doors and Miles Davis. A huge campsite, a huge, like, a city, basically. A city of tents and all kinds of undesirables.
An amazing clash of cultures, isn't it? Because you've got young hippies, really, arriving here into this countryside, and it's quite a conservative,
Conservative with every
area.
Yes, yeah.
What was that like?
It caused a huge amount of mayhem. For the admirals and the colonels were talking about stopping it with guns. I mean, you know.
Really?
But what the locals got uppity about were things like the fornication and the going to the toilet in the fields. And I have letters from concerned locals, and some very Christian people were thought it was the work of the devil.
There was the acres of litter that were being sort of blown about, was unbelievable, really. And the other thing was the smell. It really smelled. I mean, you could approach it downwind, and I was told that before the wind got up, it was even worse.
So you were there. What was it like?
It was wonderful. It was really friendly. It was fascinating. I mean, it was just such a visual treat. The smells were wonderful. The patchouli oil and other smoking. I don't know. I was very young at the time. It just was this riot of colour and excitement. And again, the landscape of the Isle of Wight really helped, because you were suddenly in this green paradise, and that was really important.
There was a spirit of something historic happening, because the Americans had already had Woodstock. When we were actually sat in the arena, you did feel this togetherness. We all stood up at one time and put our hands in the air and waved the peace sign. It was funny. It was like something from outer space, really, just kind of landed on the Isle of Wight. And after the last one in 1970, it seemed like the island just went back to sleep.
And I said, fly on, my sweet angel. Fly on through the sky. Fly on, my sweet angel. Forever I'm gonna be by your side.
That one's for you, Jimmy.
After the 1970 festival, an Act of Parliament was brought in, banning gatherings of more than 50,000 people on the island. But today, the Isle of Wight is very much back on the festival calendar. The Isle of Wight Festival made its return in 2002. More recently, the island has added another large-scale festival called Bestival to its lineup. I'm meeting up with the man behind Bestival, music scholar and DJ, Rob DeBank.
So, Rob, why did you decide to set up the festival in the first place?
We've been running loads of parties, doing some little festivals ourselves, just tents and guesting there, and then we just thought, why not give it a whirl ourselves?
And how difficult was it to set it all up? I mean, especially considering there is another festival on this island.
The other festival is so different to us that we just sort of work alongside each other, but yeah, it's sort of quite harmonious.
Excellent. And how does it differ to the festivals of the 60s?
Yeah, I mean, probably less nudity. I suppose, you know, the commercialism, you know, you need sponsors these days. You can't just have, let people run riot, you know, you have to have a fence. You know, the Isle of Wight festivals back in the day, you know, they had fences, but they were quickly kind of overcome by people, and health and safety-wise and all that, you know what 21st century culture's like for that, so.
Yeah, and tell me, is this the sort of the site of the stages or the campsites, or?
This is basically what we call the village area. You'd have a bandstand down here.
Yeah.
Lots of sort of local sort of traders and food suppliers and stuff, and then over there you just have this sea of campsites and car parks, and this is we're right at one end of the site here.
Why is the Isle of Wight such a perfect place for a festival like this one?
I think it's just got this magic about it. You know, as soon as you get on the boat from Southampton or Portsmouth, and you know, you get on the boat and you suddenly feel like you're leaving, you know, the mainland behind you. You could be leaving your sort of worries and cares behind, and you're going to a different. You know, it's like going on holiday for people. And the festival's ethos started as a love of really good music and having fun. And I think, you know, there's a lot of festivals that put on amazing bands, but, you know, it's a stage, it's a beer tent, it's a big field with people in it. We always wanted to be more than that. We wanted to be, you know, quite eccentric, really escapist. You know, it's, you know, we have the world's biggest fancy dress party every year. But, you know, this year, 20 or 30,000 people taking part in that. There's always a theme. You know, it's just this mad sort of living, breathing sort of community of people that are trying to sort of do something different with their lives, and I think that really comes across.
Country Tracks viewer Kevin Nugent came to the island to experience the festival atmosphere for himself.
So here we are, we're just leaving sunny England and we're on our way to the Isle of Wight. The ferry's just pulled out, so we should be arriving on the Isle of Wight in about 35 minutes. It's still a beautiful day, and we're going to be on site in about an hour, and then we'll be setting up camp and getting started. Well, that's it, that's the Isle of Wight. So we're all set up, we've been camped for about 3 hours now, and there's lots of people arriving. And me and a couple of the guys have just been for a big walk around the site, and it looks amazing. And yeah, there's lots of nice places to eat and loads of stuff going on. There's not a lot of bars and stuff open yet, but there's a bit of music coming around. We're really excited about being here, and looking forward to more people arriving. So now it's Saturday, it's just after lunch. The sun's still shining and everyone looks great. Everyone's in their fancy dress costumes. And we're just about to watch the parade go past.
The atmosphere, everyone amazing. Dressing up. And it's just like no one takes anyone seriously here. Well, the tents as well, amazing, aren't they? Yeah, you can just do whatever you want and like no one judges you.
Just get away with anything, so it's cool.
Kevin Nugent at Festival.
I think it's time I had an uplifting experience of my own. So I'm going to run off these cliffs and catch a ride on the famous Isle of Wight winds. But first, time to take a look at the Country Tracks weather for the week ahead.
Today I've been on a nostalgic journey on the Isle of Wight. First I crossed the Solent by hovercraft to Ryde, where I sailed motorboats on Canoe Lake. Next I went tree climbing in East Cowes and visited the coloured cliffs of Allen Bay. At Robin Hill I found out how the island has reinvented itself as a music festival venue since the classic 1960s original. And now I've come to Journey's End at Compton Bay. This is where the Isle of Wight comes crashing into the 21st century. Never mind the feelings of serenity or the old world charm I found when I first arrived. This place is one big activity playground. I've chosen paragliding, and Paddy Court is the man who's going to help me see the island from a very different point of view.
Hello.
I'm the guinea pig today.
Excellent.
Very nice to
Come
meet
fly.
you. Is this our bird?
This is our machine
our
today.
wing.
An extra large paraglider.
Okay, cool.
A health and safety check and some essential bits of kit later, and I'm nearly ready to go.
Checking the glider.
All it is a bit of silk. That's all it is.
So your main object, really, you'll be facing down the hill.
Yes.
When you clip you in, I'll show you where your arms will be. And I'll sort of count down 3, 2, 1. You'll then feel a mighty pull backwards. Hopefully then you'll
Not
feel
fall
a gentle
over.
pull up.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we can just sort of carry on. If there's enough breeze blowing up the cliffs holding us up, we should be able to do gentle S-turns and just stay above the cliff. But it all depends on what happens.
So you're kind of hoping to land us back where we started.
Yeah, if we get above the cliff, then obviously the choice of where we land is quite high.
Is that everything I need to know?
I think it is, yeah. I think we talked too long.
Let's do it.
Okay. Go. Walk down the hill. Okay, walk forward.
Walk forward.
Okay, you happy?
Yes.
Okay, start running then.
Okay.
Run, run, run,
I'm
run,
running,
run,
I'm
run,
running,
run,
I'm
run,
running,
keep
I'm running, I'm running.
Keep running, keep running, keep running.
Oh my God.
Get your arms back and comfy.
Okay. Wow. Okay, this is like completely awesome. Yay. Oh, this could be very addictive.
It is addictive.
Doesn't get much better than this. It really doesn't. This has got to be the best feeling in the world. We are now nearing those fantastic cliffs in the distance. I hope we can get to them. Check it out. I tell you what, my 1950s guidebook said nothing about this. And the view is spectacular. Wow.
The Isle of Wight is a remarkable place. Just crossing the Solent to get here gives you the holiday buzz, especially if you go by hovercraft. You soon pick up on the nostalgic vibe here, and I went with the flow with the brilliant Ride Model Boat Club. Somehow it is the perfect place to nurture childhood memories, and if that includes climbing trees, that can't be a bad thing. But this island is a wild and physical place too, and my paragliding flight over the cliffs here at Compton has really made my day.
Hello there.
Excellent.
That was the best thing ever.
The air and what's going on around you.
It's just fabulous. It's so exhilarating. Can we go up again?
Yeah.
Explore the high points of the Peak District later with Matt Baker and Julia Bradbury. Country File this evening at 6:30. Stay with us now, the Politics Show is next.